Namaskar, good evening and welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching the news with your host Kriti Mishra. Get ready for your daily dose of national and international developments, minus noise and cacophony. First up, the headlines this Wednesday evening. Union Cabinet extends PM Swanidhi scheme till December 2024. Approved 60,990 crore for fertilizer subsidy and hydro projects for Jammu and Kashmir. LIC IPO opens up on 4th of May. Government to sell over 22.13 crore shares in a price band of 902 to 949. COVID challenge not over yet. Prime Minister Modi cautions chief ministers at review meeting. Appeals to people to be alert. Emphasizes early vaccination for children. Speaker of Maldivian Parliament Mohammad Nasheed meets Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla. Assures continuation of capacity building of Maldivian parliamentary institutions. UN Chief Guterres meets Russian President Putin. Agreement on evacuating people from Mariupol. Moscow cuts gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria. On to our flash news segment now. Prime Minister Modi will visit Assam on Thursday to address the Peace, Unity and Development Rally at Difu. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu inaugurates 100-meter tower for operation of AIR FM station in Andhra Pradesh. Union government scraps MP's quota for recommending names for admissions in Kendriya Vidyalayas. Fasal Bima Pathshala organised under Kisan Bhagidari Prathmikta Hamari campaign. Aspirational districts witnessed significant progress in key development areas in last 4 years, says Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant. Unemployment rate declined in the country, 4 crore 45 lakh more jobs in 2019-20 compared to 2018-19. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin urges district administrations to ensure implementation of COVID-19 protocols. Indian Air Force carries out resurfacing work on runway of Bagdogra airfield to enable civil aircraft to resume operations. Chandiwal Commission probing corruption allegations against Anil Deshmukh submits report to Maharashtra CM. World Bank to provide $600 million financial assistance to Sri Lanka to make payments for essential imports. And our top focus now. The Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Modi took major decisions today. Chief among them was approval to extend an assistance of 820 crore for India Post Payments Bank. This financial support will help the Postal Payments Bank increase its penetration in remote areas of the country and drive financial inclusion. IPPB currently has 5 crore accounts and 1.36 lakh branches. About 48% account holders are women. The Cabinet also approved subsidy of over 60,939 crore for potash fertilizers in the first 6 months of the current financial year. This will make available chemical fertilizers to farmers at reasonable prices.
60,939 करोड़ रुपया केवल खरीफ के सीजन के लिए की गई है। 60,939 करोड़ रुपए की सब्सिडी डीएपी पर और पीएन के फर्टिलाइजर्स पर केवल खरीफ सीजन के लिए की गई। पिछले साल जहां पूरा 2021-22 में कुल बजट ही पूरे साल के लिए 57,150 करोड़ रुपए का था।
The centre also approved the continuation of the Prime Minister Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi scheme till December 2024. The approval was given by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs chaired by Prime Minister Modi. Through PM Swanidhi, affordable collateral-free loans are given to street vendors. The approval will benefit about 1.2 crore people in urban areas.
Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi, PM Swanidhi, इसके माध्यम से देश भर के लाखों वेंडर्स को लाभ मिला। आज निर्णय लिया गया है कि इस योजना को अब बढ़ाकर दिसंबर 2024 तक बढ़ा दिया जाएगा।
The Union Cabinet also approved upgradation of 2G mobile towers to 4G in Naxal-affected areas at a cost of 2,426 crore. The project is spread over the Naxal-affected area in 10 states and has been entrusted to the telecom company BSNL. Indigenously developed core network, radio network and telecommunication equipment will be used to upgrade the mobile towers to 4G. The government also approved an investment proposal of 4,526 crore for the construction of 540 megawatt capacity Kwar hydroelectricity project in Jammu and Kashmir. The project will be completed in 54 months. This project will directly and indirectly provide employment to about 2,700 people. Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday said the COVID-19 challenge is not over yet. He emphasized the need to remain alert. In his virtual interaction with chief ministers on the COVID-19 situation in the country, Prime Minister Modi said that the Omicron and its variants can still cause havoc, as witnessed in European countries. He said scientists and experts are continuously monitoring the national and global situation. The Prime Minister also underscored that the priority should be to vaccinate all eligible children as soon as possible, and special campaigns need to be run in this direction. The Prime Minister said the way the centre and the states worked together during COVID-19 period played an important role in the country's fight against COVID.
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के अपग्रेड का काम तेजी से चलता रहे, ये सुनिश्चित किया जाना चाहिए। बेड्स, वेंटिलेटर्स और पीएसए ऑक्सीजन प्लांट जैसी सुविधाओं के मामले में हम काफी बेहतर स्थिति में हैं, लेकिन ये सारी सुविधाएं फंक्शनल रहे, हमें ये भी सुनिश्चित करना होगा सभी एलिजिबल बच्चों का जल्द से जल्द टीकाकरण ये हमारी प्राथमिकता है। इसके लिए पहले की तरह स्कूलों में विशेष अभियान भी चलाने की जरूरत होगी।
And joining us for more on this important review meet is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, welcome to the news. Well, despite managing the COVID crisis as compared to other countries, we may see cases uptick in the states now. Take us through the big takeaways from this important review meet.
Well, good evening, Kriti. Thank you. And clearly, the underlying message of a Prime Minister's review meeting with the Chief Ministers on the COVID situation is very clearly that the COVID pandemic is not yet over. We cannot lose, sight. We cannot lower down our guard as of now, and we'll have to continue this fight on various fronts. The first and foremost, of course, amongst them is to continue the vaccination process, and specifically now that the emergency use has been granted to co-vaccine for children below the age of 12, that is between the age group of 6 to 12, then clearly the focus will be here once the government comes up with a detailed plan of vaccination of this age group. Above this, of course, the vaccination process has already begun, and the data clearly shows that 84% of the population above 15 years of age have been doubly vaccinated. That is, all of them have got at least 2 doses. Now, of course, there is a caution dose, a precautionary, vaccine dose. That is the 3rd dose which is being talked about, and it is already being given to people above the age group of 60 and 45 as well, those who are eligible to it. So, of course, that process will continue on one hand. On the other hand, in terms of the steps which have to be taken, one is that the states will have to ensure that they focus on the containment strategies whenever there is a spike in cases. And Delhi, the national capital region, is of course one such area where in the past few days we've seen how the positivity ratio or the percentage point has gone up very significantly from green. The Delhi national capital is now in the orange category, that is the percentage of positive cases have gone up above 5%. Now that is indeed a cause of concern, but hospitalization is number of patients getting hospitalized is something which is still a saving grace. That's not a concern area as of now. Again, as people, as common men, the citizens of the country, everybody, all of us will have to do our bit, and that is a 3-step formula to follow the COVID appropriate behavior. That is what the government, that is what the experts, scientists and doctors, everybody is advocating about. Keep your mask on, sanitize your hands regularly, and maintain social distancing as well.
Absolutely, Vishal. Absolutely. So following the COVID-appropriate behavior, that is of paramount importance. On that note, thank you so much for joining us with all those updates. And moving on, viewers, Prime Minister Modi will visit Germany, Denmark and France from 2nd to 4th of May. It will be his first visit abroad this year. In the first leg of his visit to Berlin, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Both leaders will co-chair the 6th edition of the India-Germany Intergovernmental Consultations. The Prime Minister will also address and interact with the Indian community in Germany. After Germany, the Prime Minister will leave for Copenhagen for the 2nd India-Nordic Summit being hosted by Denmark. During the 2nd India-Nordic Summit, the Prime Minister will also interact with other Nordic leaders. On the last leg of the tour, Prime Minister Modi will briefly stop over in Paris and meet President of France, Emmanuel Macron. India and France are celebrating 75 years of their diplomatic relations this year, and the meeting between the two leaders will set a more ambitious agenda of the strategic partnership. And moving on, India-Fiji relations reset on mutual respect and cooperation beside people-to-people ties, said Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday. He expressed confidence that they will continue to gain in strength. In an online address at the inauguration of Sri Satya Sai Sanjeevani Children's Heart Hospital in Fiji, the Prime Minister said it was a priority country for his government as it sent medicines and other help to cover 150 countries during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister added that India was concerned not only about its citizens, but also from around the world. He said the hospital is another symbol of the mutual relations and affection.
आपसी सम्मान, सहयोग और हमारे लोगों के मजबूत आपसी संबंधों पर टिके हैं। भारत का ये सौभाग्य है कि हमें फिजी के सामाजिक आर्थिक विकास में भूमिका निभाने, योगदान करने का अवसर मिलता रहा है।
And the nation's largest life insurer, LIC, on Wednesday set the price band at 902 to 949 per share for its 21,000 crore initial public offering that will open for subscription on 4th of May. At the upper end of the price band, the government will garner around 21,000 crore. With this IPO, which is through an offer for sale route, the government is looking to divest its 3.5% stake in the insurer by selling 22.13 crore shares. Speaking on the occasion, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey said the listing is part of the long-term strategic vision of the government and will highly enhance the value of cooperation in the long run. The issue will close on May 9th.
LIC was always an investor, and now today LIC is coming before the investors to get invested in. So it's a great Indian story, and I welcome you all to, reach it out to everyone.
Om Birla met the Speaker of Maldives Parliament, Mohammad Nasheed, at his residence in New Delhi. Speaker Birla expressed happiness over the successful implementation of the MOU on parliamentary cooperation between the parliaments of India and Maldives in the areas of digitization, archiving and legislative drafting of parliament. He said such steps help capacity building in the parliamentary institutions of Maldives. Speaker Birla said the training program for capacity building of the Majlis officers was organized in 2020 by PRIDE, the Training Institute of Parliament of India. The Lok Sabha Speaker also expressed confidence that a parliamentary friendship group would be formed between India and Maldives. And in other news, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has advised the youth to imbibe the spirit of service. Inaugurating the Devi Reddy Sharda Charitable Trust in Nellore, he said share and care is the core value of Indian civilization. He urged the youth to spend time in the service of the poor and needy. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman addressed the roundtable conference on investing in India's digital revolution in San Francisco. Inviting investors to India, she promised that all obstacles will be removed. She also announced the introduction of digital currency by 2023. 11 people were electrocuted in Thanjavur district of Tamil Nadu during a temple Rath Yatra. The accident was triggered by the vehicle coming in contact with a high-tension transmission line. Some children are also among the casualties. The President, Vice President, Prime Minister have expressed grief over the accident. State-owned power generation company NTPC signed an MOU with Swiss company Energy Vault. The The agreement is for the deployment of gravity-based energy storage technology and software solutions based on the outcome of a joint feasibility study. And actress Deepika Padukone will be part of a jury at the 2022 Cannes Film Festival. French actor Vincent Lindon will lead the jury at the festival's 75th edition that will run from May 17th to May 28th. Deepika will be part of the 8-member jury that will award one of the 21 films in the competition during the closing ceremony on 28th May. Several cancer hospitals will be set up in Assam under the Tata Trust model of tackling cancer. Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of 7 of the 17 such medical facilities tomorrow. The areas for setting up these have been strategically selected to ensure that the patients from the bordering states also get all the services. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh interacted with the team of the Tiranga Mountain Rescue Team in New Delhi. He was briefed about the various activities of TMR. The Defence Minister appreciated TMR for raising awareness and training the armed forces personnel, besides saving lives from dangers like avalanches. We'll take a short break here. On the other side, Japan's first green railway network that runs entirely on solar power and renewable energy.
What is child marriage? Is it avoidable?
आप जरा सोचिए, अगर आपकी छोटी बच्ची की शादी हो जाए 12 साल में, उसकी जिंदगी का क्या बनने वाला है? We must compliment the Parliament of India for coming out with the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006.
Watch with us, 75 years, laws that shaped India.
Welcome back. You're watching the news. Now let's take a look at all the latest developments for the war front in Ukraine. Russia's state-controlled natural gas giant, Gazprom, cut gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria after they refused to pay for shipments in rubles. It warned that if they siphon gas meant for other European customers, the deliveries to Europe will be reduced to that amount. The move follows Russian President Vladimir Putin's order to switch to rubles in payments for the Russian gas supplied to Europe. Kiev has accused Moscow of trying to shatter the unity of its Western allies after Russia suspended gas exports to Bulgaria and Poland. Ukraine's military said the Russian troops seized 2 towns in the eastern Donbass region, where Moscow has focused the new phase of its offensive. Explosions have been reported in 3 Russian regions near the border with Ukraine. Russia has imposed personal restrictions on 287 British members of parliament and banned them from entering the country. He accused them of fueling unwarranted hysteria, the country's foreign ministry has announced. The ministry said the sanctions on members of the House of Commons were a response to UK imposing similar restrictions on 386 members of its lower house of parliament on March 11th. And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has told the country's lawmakers sanctioned by Russia to consider the measures as a badge of honor. He told UK's parliament that the West will keep its robust and principled support for the Ukrainian people and their right to protect their lives, their families, and themselves. Negotiators in Kiev's talks with Moscow have said no agreement has been reached for the Ukrainian president and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to discuss the war, despite efforts by Turkey to arrange such a meeting. The UN says Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed in principle that the United Nations and the International Committee of Red Cross should be involved in the evacuation of civilians from a besieged steel plant in Ukraine's southern eastern city of Mariupol. Guterres and Putin reportedly discussed the proposal for humanitarian assistance and evacuation of civilians from conflict zones, namely in relation to the situation in Mariupol. Now news from the other parts of the world. The UN General Assembly adopted by consensus a resolution that requires the 193-member body to convene whenever a veto is cast by a permanent member of the Security Council. India has voiced regret over the lack of inclusivity in tabling the resolution. It said it has serious concerns about such take it or leave it initiatives that do not take into account concerns of the wider membership.
The UN General Assembly adopted by consensus without a vote the resolution standing mandate for a General Assembly debate when a veto is cast in the Security Council by any permanent member, the US, Russia, China, Britain and France. The resolution was tabled by Liechtenstein together with over 70 co-sponsors including the US. The resolution decides that the President of the General Assembly shall convene a formal meeting of the General Assembly within 10 working days of the casting of a veto by one or more permanent members of the Security Council to hold a debate on the situation as to which the veto was cast, provided that the Assembly does not meet in an emergency special session on the same situation. New Delhi has regretted the lack of inclusivity in the matter in which the resolution was put forth. India's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador R. Ravindra, said that we have serious concerns about such take-it-or-leave-it initiatives which do not make a genuine effort to take into account the perspectives and concerns of the wider membership. Earlier this month, the US cited what it called Russia's shameful pattern of abusing its veto privilege over the years. It said it was co-sponsoring the UNGA resolution that would automatically convene a meeting of the General Assembly after a veto has been cast in the Security Council by any of the 5 permanent members. In February, just a day after Russia launched its military operation in Ukraine, a US-sponsored UN Security Council resolution that would have deplored in the strongest terms Moscow's aggression against Ukraine failed to pass since Russia used its veto. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in more global news now, China has asked Pakistan to scale up security for its nationals working in the country. It also demanded a thorough investigation and punishment to the perpetrators behind the suicide attack at the Karachi University that killed 3 Chinese teachers and injured another. The blood of the Chinese cannot be shed in vain, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said. A burqa-clad Baloch woman suicide bomber triggered an explosion that killed many Pakistanis and 3 Chinese teachers. Aung San Suu Kyi was found guilty of corruption and sentenced to 5 years in jail. A Myanmar court accused the 76-year-old leader of accepting bribe and gold bars. The case was the first of 11 corruption charges against Suu Kyi, each carrying a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. Sources quoted by agencies declined to be identified because her trials are being held behind closed doors. Chinese Defense Minister met his Iranian counterpart in Tehran on Wednesday. Iran's official news agency said they held talks on the latest regional and global developments without elaborating. China and Iran hold close relations, and with Tehran highly relying on imports from China as its economy has been shattered by Western sanctions aiming to force Iran to abandon its nuclear program. Beijing has also remained one of the main buyers of Iranian oil despite the sanctions. A mentally challenged Indian origin Malaysian man convicted in a drug trafficking case was executed in Singapore. He was convicted in 2010 for carrying 42.72 grams of heroin in 2009 and had exhausted all legal recourse. He was first scheduled to be hanged on November 10th last year, but filed a last-ditch challenge. After his mother's application was dismissed, the court ordered his death sentence. And SpaceX has launched 4 astronauts to the International Space Station for NASA less than 2 years after completing a flight chartered by millionaires. Spectators at Space View Park, directly across from launch pad, cheered for the Falcon rocket blasted off before dawn from Florida's Kennedy Space Center. The crew includes the first black woman making a long-term space flight, NASA's Jessica Watkins. It is the first time NASA has sent up a crew comprised equally of men and women. And a Japanese railway company, Tokyo, is using just solar and other renewable energy power to its sprawling train services. That means the emissions of carbon dioxide for its network of 7 train lines and 1 tram service, plus all its stations, stand at 0 as of April 1st.
Since 1st April at the Shibuya station in Tokyo, railway trains are now running on power generated only by solar and other renewable sources. That means carbon dioxide emissions of Tokyo's extensive network of 7 train lines and 1 tram service now stand at zero. Tokyo employs 3,855 people and connects the city with nearby Yokohama. It is the first railroad operator in Japan to have achieved the goal of zero emission. It says the carbon dioxide reduction is equivalent to the annual average emissions of 56,000 Japanese households. The technology used by Tokyo's trains is among the most ecologically friendly options for railways. The other 2 options are batteries and hydrogen power. Such steps are crucial for Japan, the world's 6th biggest carbon emitter, to attain its goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. Only about 20% of Japan's electricity comes from renewable sources. That lags way behind New Zealand, where 84% of power used comes from renewable energy sources. New Zealand hopes to make that 100% by 2035. Tokyo has more than 100 kilometers of railway tracks, serving 2.2 million people a day, including commuting salarymen and salary women as well as school children. Since the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan has shut down most of its nuclear plants and ramped up use of coal-fired power plants. The country aims to have 36 to 38% energy from renewable sources by 2030, while slashing overall energy use. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now all the action from the world of sports. The IPL season is more than halfway through in terms of matches played, while the misfortune of IPL superpowers like Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings, with them being at the last 2 spots in the points, has been the story of the season. So has been the rise of the new entrants, one of which is on the ground this evening, taking on a former champion team. In the 40th match of the season being played at Wankhede, Gujarat Titans are taking on Sunrisers Hyderabad. The first ever IPL champion, the Rajasthan Royals, are having a wonderful IPL with some superb individual and team performances. With their 6th win in 8 matches, RR are on the top of the points table. They beat Royal Challengers Bangalore by 29 runs. Riyan Parag's 56 not out of 31 balls proved crucial for the Royals, who posted 144 for 8. Kuldeep Singh took 4 for 20 for the Royals. On to football now. In a Champions League classic, Manchester City defeated Real Madrid 4-3 at home in the first leg of their semi-final tie. City sure would be disappointed of not killing off their semi-final tie at home. The first leg of the second semi-finals of the Champions League will be played tonight. Liverpool will host Vishal, who could prove to be a tricky opponent as they come to the tie, having beaten German giants Bayern Munich in quarter-finals. Liverpool, on the other hand, will be eager to put up a show at their home ground. In tennis now, Dominic Thiem has been knocked out in the first round of the Estoril Open by France's Benjamin Bonzi. Thiem has been previously ranked world number 3, struggled to find his groove and committed 3 double faults and never managed a breakpoint opportunity over the course of the match. Thiem lost the match 3-6, 6-7. And before we sign off, a relook at the headlines now. Union Cabinet extends PM Swanidhi scheme till December 2024, approves 60,999 crore fertilizer subsidy and hydro project for Jammu and Kashmir. LIC IPO opens up on 4th of May. Government to sell over 22.13 crore shares in a price band of 902 to 949. COVID challenge not over yet. Prime Minister Modi cautions chief ministers at review meeting, appeals to people to be alert, emphasizes early vaccination for children. Speaker of Maldivian Parliament Mohammad Nasheed meets Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla, assures continuation of capacity building of Maldivian parliamentary institutions. And UN Chief Guterres meets Russian President Putin, agreement on evacuating people from Mariupol. Moscow cuts gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria. So viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Namaskar.